All right, welcome back to another Geeks Vegas Lines daily fantasy football and betting angles breakdown. This is week 12 of the 2019 NFL season. My name is Kevin Allen. I am your host, and we are brought to you by Overlay DFS, home of Sit Start Fantasy Sports and the Start Sit Fantasy Sports. And of course, I've just now discovered the Overlay is all about the progressive jackpot. So free money in every contest at Overlay DFS. And of course, brought to you by Fantasy Draft, Rake, Free, Fantasy, Awesomeness, FantasyDraft.com. Go there now, play some fantasy sports there. Go to Overlay DFS, play their awesome game. We'll talk about it later. I've got the sports betting GOAT himself, John Alessia, a.k.a. Statsational here. What's up, John?
What's going on, man?
Not too much. Feeling good. It's week 12 and heading to Miami.
Beach week, man. It's beach week.
King of the beach week.
Right.
Next week, I'll be wearing the crown, I hope.
That'll be lovely.
And, of course, I've got the season-long specialist himself, the wordsmith. Season-long says, what's up, my man?
Spitting bitty rhymes. You know that, man. No, it's good to be back. I love doing this podcast with you guys because this is the point of the week where I learn. I'm focused on waiver wire all week. I'm focused on season long. And when I'm talking to you guys, I just ask the questions. What the feedback on Twitter has been, you've been asking those guys the questions that I want to know. So I almost feel like I'm speaking for the layman, the everyday people, and listening to you experts talk. So this is a really helpful conversation for me.
In many ways, you are a man of the people.
Yes.
And it is just being proven here and now as you say this. So looking at week 12, can you believe it? Week 12, we're almost there.
It's so cliche to say, oh my God, I can't believe it's week 12. I hear it on
But you know, week 12, we're 2 weeks away from week 12, week 13. You got 2 more weeks to try to make the fantasy playoffs in your season long league says. So week 12 is a big week.
No, it's big. And then what a lot of my leagues do now is week 13 is a double header.
Oh, that's cute. Okay.
It's a little wrinkle we'll put in our season long league next week.
It's fun because that's no bye weeks, I guess. So everybody gets full strength.
Well, just so you can play everybody, it's just there's a whole we'll go on that in the season long format because we don't want to waste time. We want to give the people what they want here. But yeah, there's a lot of interesting things. And yeah, this is a big bye week too, right, guys? We got a lot of players on bye, but the teams that are not, we're going to start, John, with Denver is going to Buffalo. The line here is Buffalo is laying 4.5 with a total of 37. What struck me looking at this one right away is that these feel like equal teams to me, but Buffalo's record's just better. Denver's kind of been in all the games. I'm curious what your model says and where all the money's going and what kind of DFS cues we can get from this one.
Yeah, actually, if you're looking at my model, I'm about the same here. I'm actually a little bit less. I would have had it about 3.5 Buffalo favorite just for the home field advantage, and that's only given like a 2-point home field advantage. So yeah, market's a little bit, I think, a little long here on Buffalo. So I think you're getting a little value on the Denver side. And I think when you look at the betting market, you're seeing everyone kind of agrees with me here. I don't know, the consensus
it's back to 3.5 now.
Is it down to 3.5?
Yeah.
Yeah, because Denver's getting the money here. So Denver's getting about 2/3 of the money. And they are, what's interesting though, is Buffalo's actually getting more tickets. So that's generally, we've spoken about this before. So Buffalo's seeing a lot more of the public action. And it looks like, the way we read into this, if more money and less tickets are coming in on one side, that generally signifies a sharper better, not always. But I do think in this case, Denver's a little bit sharper side than Buffalo is, especially at 4. I've got it at 4 myself, so I think it's going to vary depending on where you're at. On the total, I mean, this is just going to be one of those atrocious totals for fantasy. But the over is actually being bet 95% of the money and about 90% of the tickets coming in on the over side. So you don't typically see that on these low totals because people just kind of keep hammering it to the under even more. So there's some expectation that the Allen Bowl might be a little bit more scoring than Vegas thinks.
What a great name, the Allen Bowl, if I do say so myself. Yeah. Except I spell it the correct way. Geek, this is a game where the thing that sticks out to me most is the rookie tight ends, believe it or not. Both of them seem like they could be playable. Noah Fant specifically has become the de facto wide receiver 2 as soon as they traded Emmanuel Sanders. He's not really a rookie anymore. I mean, after 8-9 games, I feel like, they're integrated. Can we use any of those guys? Who are the guys that you're looking at in this game?
Listen, in watching the tape from last week, it really was impressive how often Allen was looking for Noah Fant. 11 targets, only caught 4 of them, but there were 11 targets there. The issue for me with Noah Fant, with this entire game, with Knox as well, who again has looked good recently, no problems there, very nice, couple targets here and there. The issue for me is 37 points on the total. This is not a game where a lot of fantasy scoring is expected to happen. So, everybody's going to be interested in Kyle Allen to John Brown this week. It's not really a good matchup. Chris Harris will be on the Sheriff, John Brown. And, on the flip side, Cortland Sutton is a fucking beast. Man, that guy is going to be something special. But I don't believe that Allen is the kind of quarterback. Allen, I'm just saying Allen. That Allen is the kind of quarterback that can get the football to him consistently. And again, Buffalo does have a pretty good cornerback that can shut down your opposing wide receiver 1. I think it's borderline that Cortland Sutton he's getting to the point where good cornerback play isn't going to stop him. He's kind of looking too good for that. I don't know. Maybe it was because Xavier Rhodes sucks now, and I saw him just schooling him last week that, I'm maybe getting a little overhyped. But overall, in general, 37.5 point total game. I think actually it's the running games that are probably going to be where the points come from. But I don't want to try to figure out who that's going to be. Obviously, Devin Singletary has looked electric every time they give him the ball. But somehow they have this old grandpa, Frank Gore, out there just kind of slogging away, still trotting him out there, 2.5 yards per carry. So you can't really trust Devin Singletary to get the volume. And with Lindsey and Freeman splitting touches, there's just not enough to like here on a 37-point total.
Yeah, I mean, that sounds reasonable to me. This would be likely a stay-away game. From a season-long perspective, there's definitely some players you're going to have to play. But moving along, John, Pittsburgh suddenly resurgent. They're up, they're down, but they have an easy one this week. They're going to Cincinnati. The line I'm seeing is Cincinnati's getting 7 at home. Is that still where you have it? Because if it is, I'm hammering this one. I like Pittsburgh a lot. Cincinnati's literally a league doormat.
Yeah, you can. You could actually get Pittsburgh at 6.5 in some places. You'll have to lay a little bit more juice and lay 120. Which, if you do like it, I like it better at 6.5, 120 than maybe 7, 110. That half point's worth a lot more than 10 cents. So depending on what kind of juice you have, but Pittsburgh, the money's not coming in as heavily on Pittsburgh as I might have thought. It's actually close to 50-50 on this game. And if you take a look at the total, that also 50-50. And are you getting 39? Because I'm seeing about 39. Yeah, so you got 39. And the money's about 50-50 on that. Pittsburgh's coming off, of course, that the Mason Rudolph getting slammed in the head game.
Let's talk about that for a second. Pittsburgh's missing some important pieces in this game. Do we think that the center being gone, and he's the leader of that offense, Pouncey, do we think that's going to affect anything? And is any of that affected by the line here? Is the line maybe a little tighter because with no Pouncey, who's like the main guy on that entire offense, the leader? Or a Pouncey doesn't really matter that much in this spot because it's Cincinnati and they don't rush the passer anyway, so who gives a shit?
Yeah, they're at most it's going to count for maybe a half a point, but I don't even think it moved that much.
But John, don't you think that sometimes, I think Geek's onto something here, that the center is, he's the quarterback of the offensive line. I mean, sometimes that could throw off the whole, that's like the Jenga piece that topples the whole tower right there.
That's right. Sometimes in the betting, like I said, you have to look at how much did they move how much are they moving the line based on an injury? Because a lot of times, if you have a strong belief that Pouncey really is the guy here, and I think he's worth more than they're going to give him credit for, then you have to make that bet. But this is part of markets. This is part of betting. This is part of trading. Like, if you value something greater than the rest of the market does, well, then go ahead and make that bet. It's just like when you go in a season-long league and you really like a guy and his ADP is 20 and you don't want to take him at 15 because you're like, well, no, if you like the guy, you thought he was 12 on your board, but you don't want to take him too early. you kind of have to. That's how you beat the games, right? You have to be smarter than the market sometimes.
Yeah, we were just talking about Lamar Jackson in Season Long Geek, right? About how everyone was having him at like QB 18, and we had him at QB 4 or 5. So your point is well taken.
I have him and Kyle Allen and Murray. It was one of those three on every team that I drafted this year because we had them valued so much higher than the field, and now the field will catch up next year. But this year they just didn't pick up on it yet. They're bad.
We'll be picking Joe Burrow in Cincinnati next year.
But you could take that into DFS, right? So you could take these things where you value these guys, and it certainly would have worked this year in week 1 with Lamar Jackson to say, and it works the flip side where you say, I'm selling Le'Veon Bell, I'm selling Todd Gurley or whatever it is. And then you have to kind of stick to your convictions and say, you know what? I think I need to fade these guys and keep fading them. And maybe one week they're going to burn you, but you've done well by, these guys who maybe were slipping. We've talked about this. They were slipping in season-long drafts. It's how we can use season-long, how we use Vegas, all for DFS. And, when you see these guys moving up, I look just like Dalvin Cook. Here's a guy who really didn't play much. He was injured, yet it didn't affect his ADP. So you're like, man, if this guy stays healthy, and that was a guy you could be hammering early in the year. C-Mac, got the big bump up. He was one of the top 2 or 3 picks in most drafts. It's just how you could kind of look at markets and say, I know we were getting off on a tangent with the Pouncey thing, but you have to be smarter than the market. It's not just saying, I like Pittsburgh here. Sometimes it's saying, this quarterback's out. They're valuing it 4 points. I think he's really worth 7. You have to do that sometimes when you're betting.
Bet the number, not the team. I mean, nobody wants to take the worst team, but if the number's right, nobody wants to take Cincinnati in this. I mean, you want to take the better team. So Geek,
exactly.
Now, there's a lot of other injuries in this game, though. We're not just talking about, and this is why I brought that up. We're not just talking about Pouncey, Juju Smith-Schuster, Deontay Johnson maybe out. So, who the hell is catching passes for these guys?
James Conner might be out.
Conner's probably out. So,
right, like you just said, there's always like something that tips it over. But let's assume all those injuries for a second. Is there anyone in the Pittsburgh? Is there cheap options in the Pittsburgh game that on the Pittsburgh side that you can take for DFS?
Let me tell you, they ain't that cheap. But like James Washington, this is brutal. This is what DraftKings did this week. There are bad people who are very mean. Just for King of the Beach, what did they do? James Washington, a fucking turd all year, whose salary has been $3,500, $41. He's $5K. They jacked him up. Now, technically, he's a great play at $5K because who else are they going to throw to? He's the only guy. The other one is Vance McDonald. I mean, like I said, they have to throw to someone. Vance McDonald's in the best of the spots because he's still really cheap. And again, it's like if he's out there, they're going to have to throw to somebody. The final one is Jalen Samuels, and it's going to be so tough. If James Conner is out, and this is, again, the Pittsburgh side. If James Conner is out, and I'm assuming he's out, right? Because whenever you re-injure something, I can't imagine them rushing him back. If they do, they're stupid. So if Jalen Samuels, can we really trust him for 7,200 on DraftKings? Yes. Does he get a lot of pass catches? Normally, yes. Should that be more with all of the injuries to the wide receiver position? I would think so. But then Trey Edmonds is out there looming. Benny Snizzles is out there doing his thing. He's playing this week, maybe. So it's a little weird at running back. It's too weird for me to pay up 7,200. So there's a lot of kind of not interested things going on here. On the flip side, for the Bengals, Tyler Boyd's got a little bit of a squeaky wheel thing going on this week. Said he'd like a few more targets. I'm not a big Ryan Finley believer like you are, but
no. He's played very bad. Okay. I like this prospects coming out, but so far he hasn't shown well. I mean, he's a rookie QB. We'll give him a little bit more of a chance, but yeah, that's it hasn't gone well.
No, and for me, I don't want to tie in my high dollar lineups, for example. And my whole mindset is the King of the Beach entry this week, so I'm not thinking about too much else. And when I think of that, I'm not going with Tyler Boyd and Ryan Finley and that whole mess of a situation. So for me, this game is almost unplayable across the board. John, I don't know what your thoughts are just in general in this game, but my initial look at this game, I thought about Jalen Samuel because of the matchup, but
I'm agreeing with Samuel is nice at a better price, but at 7,200 here, I'm not getting overly excited. So, and then with the low total, and I agree with that total. I had it right at 39 myself. The only thing I see being fairly successful is Pittsburgh running. But again, at 7,200, and if it's not all Samuel, I don't know. I don't see him getting enough points. Is he going to score 30 for you in the King of the Beach? Probably not.
No, I think if you're going to spend that, you've got to spend it on someone that has that upside. I do think Jalen Samuel has a nice floor. He'll catch 6 or 7 passes.
Right.
But like for 7,200, I might be able to get a 20 touch running back, a 20 carry running back that will also get 6 or 7. Like Leonard Fournette is the same price, and you'll probably get the same 6 or 7 catches, but another 8 rushes, no touchdowns because Leonard Fournette's allergic to touchdowns. But all the other stuff.
I got how many? Just not the tangent, but John or Geek, without just lightning quick answer. How many rushing touchdowns do the Jacksonville Jaguars have this season?
2.
John?
I bet you Minshew. I'm going to say 3. He's got 1.
The answer is 1.
So Fournette's 1. Was that even a rushing touchdown? Okay.
Yeah, that's the only rushing touchdown.
I figured Minshew might have ran for 1.
Yeah. Yep. All right. Hey, guys, we're going to take a quick break here just to talk about our friends from Fantasy Draft. The only rake-free daily fantasy site brings the heat again with the $250,000 guaranteed rake-free contest, the Hooters main event. This is the largest and only rake-free contest of its kind you will find for Week 12. And remember, only on Fantasy Draft are 100% of entry fees paid to the contest winners. Sign up at fantasydraft.com with referral code ARMY, that's ARMY, and you'll get a 7-day free trial membership. John, we've been talking about Fantasy Draft all season long, and we do get a lot of questions about it. We've been talking about it on the basketball podcast as well. Just tell the listeners that are tuning in for the first time or may not understand, we talk about rake-free, how important that is.
Again, it's one of the most overlooked things in all sorts of sports betting and gambling. People don't understand the VIG. They don't understand what they're paying to the house. They just think the house wins. The house doesn't win. What the house does is just take a cut of your winnings. That's what the house does, and that's what rake is. So the nice thing over at Fantasy Draft is you're not getting that. It's a subscription, and so you know what you're paying up front, and then you can play basically rake free. So I love the concept. I love the idea. Soon I'll be getting into, I've done some of the football, and soon I'll be getting a lot heavier into the basketball over on Fantasy Draft. So I'm looking forward to that once I get some more time to do that.
I think it's an important note that DFS Army subscribers have access to our best in the world projection system and optimization tools for fantasydraft.com. So not only do you have an awesome site with fewer sharks and no rake, but you got the tools to dominate at Fantasy Draft as well. So it's a pretty awesome combination.
Yeah, no, well said. And I would urge every player that plays in DFS to go over to Fantasy Draft. Our own Cash Keg said last month he saved $2,300 in rake playing at fantasydraft.com. So check them out. All right, back to business, boys. John, Carolina, once thought of as a powerhouse, now looking a little gimpy. They are on the ropes going to New Orleans, who's laying 9.5 with a total of 47. Bring me through this one.
All right, yeah, Carolina 9.5, getting the 9.5 from New Orleans. Someone actually asked me the other day; they thought that line was a little too high, but I think what the market is thinking here is just that that Saint defense against Allen, who's now come back down to life. The other Allen,
there's so many Allen.
I know. So I do think that's a pretty. I think the line is a little. It's a little higher than it probably would be, but I can understand why they put it over at 9.5, and I don't think they want to push it to 10. That said, we're actually getting a little bit more money coming in here, and it's not a heavily bet game. This is a very lightly bet game right now, but slightly more of the money, like 55% coming in on the Carolina side. As far as the total goes, the money's just coming in on the under, and I think that fits the narrative that I was thinking here, where I don't think I didn't think that the market really thought Carolina would be able to score, and I think that's why they put the game up at 9.5. So if we do what's the team total there? So again, I'll do the math for the Geek, but 23. It's like 18.5, 19 points. They're looking at the Carolina side. It's not very exciting.
I saw it.
Yeah,
Geek. I mean, we talk. Sorry, go ahead.
No, it upsets me because this is a game that you kind of want to take pieces from.
Well, I was going to say specifically, we talked about Christian McCaffrey, and obviously he's an auto play each week, and I know the price keeps going up and up and up, but this guy's not just matchup proof. He's game proof. He's game script proof. Last week, Carolina scored 3 points, and he still had 30 fantasy points. There is no situation which adversely affects Christian McCaffrey. And you're a king of the beach. Are you just going to put him in your lineup and then just figure it out from there?
That's not how I think you want to start your lineup off this week, but he's certainly a strong candidate. Listen, I get it. I get that the Saints are good against the run. I understand it. I get that the market thinks that, but I have an alternative view, and I want both of your takes on this. I believe that this is an overreaction to what happened last week with the Falcons dominating the Panthers, and I believe it's an overreaction because the market thinks that the Falcons defense is not good, right? They're a team to attack. It's a high spread every time they're in a game. It's another highest spread on the slate game this week. But the evidence has shown that in the last 2 weeks, the Falcons defense first held a really good Saints defense offense to just 9 real life points. And then last week they held a previously very explosive Panthers offense. Why do I keep saying defense? Offense to just 3 points. So maybe what actually went on is that the Falcons defense is good now, right? So maybe we all think that Carolina sucks now and they're not going to be able to score, and this game total of what is it, 19 points is real, and that's all they're going to get to, and it's very possible. And there's also the concern of the Saints really limiting opposing running backs to very low totals over the last 2 or 3 years, really. So there's a lot of, this is a brutal week. Like, give me Christian McCaffrey in a good matchup so I could just set it and forget it. But when you've got this matchup, it's tricky. And of course, the whole rest of the Panthers, right? You don't want to play Josh Allen here, right? I mean, he just showed very badly last week. And plus, screw that, right? So DJ Moore, we love DJ Moore. Play him every week, but he's got Marshawn Lattimore going to be covering him. That's not a great spot. Curtis Samuel will get sort of the Lattimore effect, and I think the best of them is probably Greg Olsen, who everybody's going to forget about, and he's going to be up in the seam, kind of doing his thing. So really, really interesting. It's just interesting. And on the flip side, we love playing Michael Thomas. Michael Thomas does not have a great history against Bradbury in coverage. It's not something that scares me off. Mike Thomas is beyond matchup proof this season. He's just too many targets, too good at route running, moves around too much to really be shadowed all the time. But it's not the best matchup for Mike Thomas either. So a lot of our staple, like easy 30-point plays that we've been having these sort of cheat codes on all season long, they don't look as good. And what about Kamara? John, can I play Kamara at 8,200 in a spectacular matchup against a very bad run defense, knowing he's probably only good for 16 touches? I'm thinking about it, but I'm not saying I can't. But I'm like, man, I wish I could trust him for a few more touches.
Hey, sorry. Go ahead, John.
No, that's right. I think of all the players in this game, Kamara is the one I like the best, ahead of CMC and Thomas. So if anyone in this game you want to play, I think Kamara is the guy. I don't love the game, but I can see Kamara doing well in this matchup. But I don't love this at all. I don't love it for Thomas at that price. I think 10.5 for McCaffrey, where he's been like I think 3 weeks in a row now. I just think this is just not the matchup that I want to play him at that price. I'm not loving this game on the whole.
It's tricky.
But John, is that price a deterrent going to keep the rest of the field off him? And then do you if he goes crazy like he's done every single week, are you the only guy that has him?
Yeah, well, if that happens, then I'm gonna have to I'm gonna have to lose. I mean, that's just the way it is.
Well,
so if I'm in the
Geeks
standpoint, if I'm in the Geeks King of the Beach, I think I'm a full fade on McCaffrey. And if he goes off, then so be it. But I think you've got to make your stands in places. And if I'm him, I think that's a stand I make. It's funny. Geek actually came to me in my chat room over in the Slack chat on Sunday morning when you were going over your team, and you didn't like the line movement on the Carolina game. And
no, I did not.
So you asked my opinion on that, and I said, and that's the thing. The guys have to understand. We're doing this on Wednesday, and then we do that Wolfpack on our Thursday or Friday. By the time Sunday comes, my opinion on Thursday may change, and that's going to be based on Vegas line movements and whatnot. When we all of a sudden we were kind of into those receivers on Carolina, and what we'd say in that Slack, we're like, you know what, I think it's going to be disappointing. My write up, I had bet Atlanta, and I said, this might be a very disappointing game for everyone who's on these Carolina wide receivers this week.
Yeah. Now, in fairness, the one that it got me off, and I was looking for confirmation on it, but at the time I was looking at Kyle Allen as sort of a good pay down option. But that line movement against, it was a reminder that, maybe Falcons' defense is good. Maybe that game against the Saints wasn't a fluke. So I was like, you know what? I needed that little bit of a kick in the ass to play Driscoll, and that was enough. I was like, you know what? Then fuck this guy. Let me save 600, 800, 700 salary. We pay down. I'll do some other things elsewhere, and I'll hope that Driscoll gets me 15 to 18 points. Of course, he got 28, and it was spectacular. But all I really wanted was 15 to 18 out of him.
Yeah, it worked out great. Yeah, I love that game too, but I took the other side. I used Dak on the
Dak was great.
He was great. Yeah. I used Dak on the high stakes stuff. So I like that game as well.
Just remember, if you're listening on the audio feed, to like and subscribe to the DFS Army YouTube channel, Twitter, and Facebook page. Ring the bell on the YouTube channel, and you will get alerts when we go live. All right, boys, moving on. In the best game of the week, I don't know about that one. Detroit is going to go visit Washington, who's getting the full 3.5 at home. Total 41.5. There are a few interesting plays on this agenda, but John, tell us what betting angles are there and how we could what we could twist out of this from a DFS perspective.
Yeah, so I mean, I don't think anyone wants to touch Haskins, the betting market, the DFS market. So everyone's just piling on. The cash is coming in 85%. Tickets are 85% on the Detroit side, and they had a pretty good show. They actually had two pretty decent showings with Driscoll at quarterback. They just haven't been able to get the wins, but they played a real tough Bears defense, and then Dallas, whose offense has just been really good. So, and they just couldn't keep up with them offensively. But so yeah, and like I said, as bad as Washington looked against the Jets, I think the market is pretty much done on them. And the under, for the same reasons, is catching all the cash here, almost 100% of the cash coming in under on this total. So again, I think from a DFS standpoint, we're looking at Washington. You just don't want to touch, even though Detroit's not the greatest of defenses. We've seen Detroit give up some points and yardage, but conversely, Detroit's very interesting here. And, this could be another situation. Maybe, I don't know. Is the Geek going back? Is he double dipping?
Geek, this is the Bo Nose game. Bo Scarborough.
Let me tell you something. Just in life, I never double dip. Okay? I'm out with my friends. We order the mozzarella sticks. Okay? All I'm dreaming about is the fucking mozzarella sticks and dipping it in the sauce like I live for it. And all of a sudden, my buddy's fucking double dipping the stick. I'm like, what the fuck are you doing, man? Why you fucking double dip the stick? Are you crazy? What kind of shit is that?
Your friends are animals.
They're fucking animals. Like, what are we? Do I know you that well? Are we that close? Are we making out after this? I don't want your fucking mozzarella stick in my sauce, motherfucker. I want that shit. What the hell? What game is this? Are we even talking about football? Because I could talk for an hour about double dipping. Oh, we're talking about. Oh, yes. Okay, that's right. Driscoll.
Double dip.
No, not double dipping. I don't want Driscoll. Now, by the way, Driscoll's great. It's a good spot. The problem is he went from 4,600 to 5,500, right? So now you're not asking me to take some super cheap, like, shit box where I only need 12, 13, 14 fantasy points and I have an edge on the field. Now you're like, hey, take Driscoll, but he's about the same as everybody else. No, I don't. This guy, he did not look good throwing the football. I'm not excited to play Kenny Golladay. I'm not excited to play Marvin Jones Jr. in this matchup. So I'm not excited to play Driscoll. Could he run one in? Sure, but not at this price. So yes, if I'm in tournaments, big tournaments, probably not. Actually, to be quite honest, I don't think I would use him anywhere because I don't think he's got the throwing in him to produce a big game from these wide receivers on his team. And he could run and he could get to 18, 19 fantasy points, but not for the price. I don't like the price. There are plays that I think are sharper in the same salary range. Looking at the rest of this game, I want to throw something over to you, Season Long says. Bo Scarborough. Okay? Came out of nowhere. Oh, knows something. You told me in your Season Long Waiver Wire podcast that Bo not Jonathan Williams, who is a guy in my heart. I drafted him in my
Yeah, you like Jonathan Williams. I know you did.
I did like him. He looked amazing last week on that one play where he caught the touchdown, So you're saying you like Bo Scarborough. Explain to me what it was. What was the scouting report on Bo when he came out of college? Tell me why I should be interested in him. That he's not that cheap, but why I should be interested in him this week as a potential touchdown scorer.
And just to back it up a second, the reason I don't like the Indianapolis running backs is because we're in a three-way committee. Yes, Jonathan Williams had the 100 yards and the touchdown, but Nyheim Hines is there and Jordan Wilkins is healthy and they're all playing on Thursday. So that was the reason why I preferred Bo Scarborough. But back to this game, Bo Scarborough is a between the tackles banger. He is the type of running back that Matt Patricia likes. He's a between the tackles banger. LeGarrette Blount, if you will. Matt Patricia loved LeGarrette Blount in New England. He brought him over to Detroit. This is a Matt Patricia style running back. Now, we all know that the more successful teams do not use this style of running back. It kind of limits them, the Jordan Howard types. They want a 3-down back on the field, but we're not. It doesn't matter if we like him. It matters if the coaches like him. And Matt Patricia, this is his kind of guy. He's a guy with speed, a guy with that really some muscle through the line, that could play 1978 football. Bo Scarborough is a live play, I think, and especially in half PPR and non-PPR formats. But he can catch the rock and take one as well. He's got a lot of speed, and he's certainly going to get chances on the goal line. There
it is. So a potential guy of interest. Certainly the no targets thing from last week is concerning.
Yeah, I mean they have McKissick there, and again in the half PPR formats, he's a live play.
I don't see them throwing to this guy, right? So, what about on the flip side of this game with Darius Geis, aka the Juice? Now, he's still not getting a lot of volume, but it's a great matchup for the Washington running game as a general. If this was a game where it was like just Adrian Peterson there, the Juice wasn't around, I think I'd be interested in Adrian Peterson. Now with these two guys, man, it's really tough to like anyone tied to this Washington offense, and especially if they're in a split committee situation like this. But Peterson has a Q tag next to his name. I guess they're calling it a day off, but man, if he was out, I think I'd be all in on the Geis.
Yeah, I mean, Darius Geis looked really great on that 45-yard catch and run, didn't he?
He looked fantastic. Listen, it was one catch and run. He didn't look that great for the rest of his work.
Yeah, but, I mean, first game back, though. Game back.
3 yards per carry. It was a tough matchup. It's the Jets, so they're good against the run. So this game again, not much to like here. Redskins side, am I really gonna do a Haskins to McLaurin stack? I don't think so. So I think both teams are going to focus on the run here, and there's both split backfields where there's just not much fantasy relevance other than some like dice roll punts on both teams. So we'll see what happens here, but I don't think this is a game we want to focus on at all.
Okay, so moving on, John. Tampa Bay going to Atlanta. Atlanta is a different team than they were a month ago. I mean, they're a team that we thought they might be in the beginning of the season, but now they've turned it on defensively. The offense is still working. They're going to lay 4.5 at home, total 52. This seems like it would be a popular target, but take us through what the betting angles are first.
So, yeah, the Atlanta now, of course, picking up a lot more action, 62% of the cash, and even higher percentage of the tickets coming in on Atlanta at -4.5. The total has dropped down from 54.5 to 51. I think that's a product of the fact that this Atlanta offense looks a lot, or Atlanta defense looks a lot better than it has. Because if this game was 3 weeks ago, yeah, we were easily looking at like a 54.5, 55 total in this game. So it has dropped quite a bit. But the over is what's being bet right now. So I don't know if everyone is necessarily buying the fact that they're a top-ranked defense at this point. Tampa offensively has been fantastic. This is, it's a similar story every week. It's always the same type of teams that we're targeting, but these Tampa games always seem to be really juicy. And Tampa-Atlanta on the surface, I mean, easily could be a shootout.
So, Geek, you and I were talking at lunchtime about this game in particular, and it seems like an obvious one, but it has a little mysteriousness to it. What are you going to do? Is this a game you're targeting as you're going to go to the King of the Beach?
Yeah, you got to love this game. Listen, what have we been doing all year? We're targeting pass catchers and ball throwers against this Tampa defense. Why? Because Tampa's just inexplicably really good against the run. Don't know why. Not sure what they're doing, but they're really good against the run. They're stopping the run all season. The other thing that Tampa does really well so far this season is score and score quickly. So that combination of a team that stops the run but scores and can't play defense is just a recipe for high-scoring games for quarterbacks and their pass catchers. Luckily, we've got a pretty good quarterback on the Atlanta side in Matt Ryan. He's the clear and away best play on the slate at quarterback. Everything else aside, he's got the best matchup. He's doing great anyway every single week. The opposing team doesn't play a lot of defense. So Matt Ryan in a very good spot. Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley was amazing last week. Julio Jones, the Bucs don't have any good corners, nothing. If I could go through, it's like a freaking hospital ward over there. Hargraves is gone. They're getting rid of everybody. They're starting, safeties at cornerback. It's crazy what's going on over there. So they can't stop anybody. And, you have a cheap guy. So you have those two guys. I don't know what the story is with Austin Hooper. We have to see if he comes back this week, what his deal is.
No, he's not coming. He's not coming back.
He won't be back. Yeah, he's going to be a couple of weeks more.
Ruled out. Okay, so if Hooper's out again, that narrows down the range of outcomes to where it's just Gage, Julio, and Ridley catching passes in the most explosive sort of environment that the league has to offer for pass catchers and quarterbacks. So I love this side. Now, the mystery that Alan and I were talking about on the phone earlier today, and we alluded to it before, are the Falcons really a very good defense? Could it be real? Could it be legitimate that this Falcons defense just held those, two high-scoring offenses, 9 points for the Saints, 3 points for the Panthers? Are they legit? And John, I don't know if your statsational model reflects this shit or not. I can't wait to see it. I can't wait to take a look. I haven't seen it yet, but not that you haven't posted. I just haven't. I didn't get a chance to look yet, right? But I don't know. I don't know if they're real. So even if they're not real, I think the Atlanta side's in a great spot. But if it's not real or whatever, I love the idea of game stacking here. This is the game I would be focused on. It's got a 52-point total, 51 on screen. Let me see if that's changed. But it's got a 51, let's call it, point total. It was 52 at one point. There it is, 51 now, yes. Let me see the line history. Yeah, it's been actually coming down. It started at 54. So it's coming in, and I think it's coming in because they're looking at it going, Atlanta's got a good defense, guys. You got to bring this shit down. So game I love. I'm not sure about the Tampa side as much, but I definitely like the Atlanta side. I'm going to play the Tampa side too, but I definitely like the Atlanta side. And I'm even slightly, maybe just a little interested in Ron Jones Jr. Not much, just a little bit.
I mean, he hasn't been good the last couple of weeks, and even got benched a couple of weeks ago.
Even that week where he was good, he wasn't that good, by the way.
Right. Well, I mean, from fantasy, he turned out a good production. But yeah, no, totally. So we're going to take a break here, guys, just to talk quickly about our friends at Overlay DFS, the Stardom Situm game. If you're tired of having to pick the perfect player in every position in order to win on your salary cap DFS, tired of having the salary cap lineup out of the running in the first 5 minutes? Does salary cap DFS feel like a job and not a game? Want a game where the pros with 150 lineups and all fancy algorithms cannot dominate? Then OverlayDFS.com has a new revolutionary start-sit game for fantasy sports. They are home of the 10-entry GPP. Here's how it works. You make 12 start-sit decisions from 30 matchups that they present to you. A win, a loss, or a tie will be awarded for your overall record for each decision. Records in the top 10% of users will win 9 times your buy-in. 12-0 perfect records will win the guaranteed progressive bonus. Somebody actually won it a couple weeks ago, guys. 2 weeks in a row. There's over $20,000. All matchups are player versus player who will have more total fantasy points. Usually 8 and 4 is good enough to win. Sometimes 7-5 and 9-3, depending on the week. You make 12 picks from the options listed below. What I'm going to do, guys, is just pull up the screen real quick. We do this each week. I love doing this right here. And let me take this off the screen. Let's lightning round. If I want to give you guys some matchups, you tell me. I'm on their site right now, as you can see up on the screen. Sony Michel versus James White in that Dallas game. Statsational. Who do you like here?
I'm going to take Sony.
Geek?
I actually probably like James White there.
Okay. Moving down. Devin Singletary versus Denver against Philip Lindsay.
I got to take Singletary there.
Yeah, it's a tough one. I'm going to go Singletary there too, but that's a tougher one.
You know what I really like about that, though? You're getting a sweat in the game. So it's like in each game, you're either fading or you're cheering on the guy in the same game. Sometimes the same teammates.
Sometimes the same team, yeah, when you get some of the, like they just showed with Michelle. Yeah, so it is interesting there.
I mean, you had some easier ones on the screen there, like.
Well, I like to give you guys the hard ones. And
there are some tough ones. There are some easier ones, though, on the screen. One thing I do want to say, I want to just mention something about the site because, I don't think it comes across like it's a really cool game. Basically, it's very different from DFS just in the sense that, number one, everybody who's finishing in the money is getting 9x on their money, which is a really, really great return. You're talking at 9x your entry fee. In a general GPP tournament, to get 9x, you've got to finish in the top half of 1%. Like, that's a very difficult multiplier to achieve, and all of the winners get that, which is really cool. And if you look on the screen there, that little number, the top prize number, that's the overlay in the contest. All we ever look for is overlay. That's the progressive jackpot, right? So that represents overlay, free money if you can hit the progressive jackpot. So, as a seasoned gambler, whenever there's overlay in a contest that you're in, it starts to skew it in your favor a little bit. And it really is, they take a low rake on this site. And like this week, I'd be playing in the 20. Why? Because why wouldn't I be playing in the fucking 20? It's got the biggest progressive jackpot. So, a sharp bettor would be attacking that one this week. You know what I mean? Has where the most overlay is. And that's what I'm always looking for in DFS in general. I'm always looking for overlay. So that's why they're called overlay DFS, because of the progressive jackpot thing that they do. Very cool.
And they also have the other game, which is best record wins. So you don't necessarily, it's just whoever has the best record wins. And those matchups are sometimes a little bit like, you have Christian McCaffrey versus Saquon Barkley. So you get some really good players instead of having to do those start-sit questions on your season-long lineup where you're like Jamison Crowder versus Trey Burton. Like, these are the great players of the game, and we always love to cheer them on.
The answer is Jamison Crowder.
You don't like Trey Burton.
Not a Trey Burton.
All right, guys, let's continue on where we were. When we last left off, we were talking Tampa Bay, but now we're going to go over to the New York Giants are going to Chicago. Chicago laying 6.5. The total is 40.5. John, take us through the betting angles.
Sure. So, the Giants, and in this one, we don't know what's going on with the quarterback situation here with Chicago. We're getting, and I hate adding gate to the end of anything, but now they're calling this one hip gate with Trubisky. But yeah, my personal opinion was they sat him not for injury, but for performance. But we'll see what happens as the week goes on. Right now, though, the money coming in on the Giants, I think expectedly plus the point. I don't think anyone just feels confident in laying any points with Chicago at this point,
John,
or any significant amount of points. Yeah.
Yes or no? Will Trubisky be the starting quarterback in 2020 for the Chicago Bears?
I don't think there's a chance of that. Well, I don't think there's a chance.
Well, I mean, that team's built to win. So do you think that they will go like with an Andy Dalton type of veteran?
Yeah. If it's me, that's all you need with that team. Like, you just need someone to manage the games, and they don't even have that. They just need a middle of the road quarterback, and I think they're fine with an Andy Dalton in there.
They are not fine if they go like the Joe Flacco route, obviously, because that's below the threshold. But yeah, Andy Dalton, Cam Newton, if he's healthy, might be.
If Cam Newton was healthy, I wouldn't even do Cam Newton. I'm fine with Andy Dalton there, because I don't want to do a young quarterback right now because they could win. And I don't have 3 years to wait for that quarterback to develop. I want Andy Dalton. Just throw screens. Trubisky can't throw a screen. Oh, we lost the geek.
That's all right. Hey, so a question for you is: would someone like, and again, I don't want to get too off track, but would someone like Gardner Minshew? Would you? I know they don't have a lot of draft capital right now, but would you give a first and a second for Gardner Minshew if you were Chicago? You give
yeah,
back.
that's tough. I don't know what they have in the first because they
don't have a
trades.
first. They don't have a first this year, but you give away your 2021 first and second, and you give Trubisky, and you get back Gardner Minshew. Would you do it?
Oh God, I might do that. Yeah,
Yep.
I might make that kind of a move because Minshew, Minshew could play. He's not great, but he's good enough. You just need someone who could put 21 points up on the board on that team, and it's just brutal. It's brutal watching them.
Yep. Geek, back from your webcam accident there. Take us through the players. Is Saquon Barkley even playing in this matchup?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I believe
yes,
Barkley is playing.
I don't see any reason why he wouldn't play. Has Saquon Barkley paid off on his salary all season is the question, and the answer is not so much, not that good. So I don't know if I'm going to be super excited about, paying up for Saquon Barkley, but he's supposed to be playing. The big angles here are on the Bears side. This Giants defense is so attackable that you just want to play players against them. Obviously, the game total is shit, but it's better for Chicago at the very least. They got 24-ish points, so we're looking at 3 touchdowns and a field goal. Where are they going to come from? Number one, we got to figure out who the quarterback is. Like, I don't know. Is it going to be Trubisky? Is it going to be Chase Daniel? I don't know. I think it's better if it's Chase Daniel. That's for me, that's the thing. And as far as the running backs go, I was watching the game tape from this past week, just trying to understand why Montgomery never seems to pay off. And the reason is because Tariq Cohen is so fucking good. He's so good that you just can't keep him out of the game. That's the issue. That's the reason that Montgomery can't that's the reason Montgomery can't have nice things. It's because Cohen is so freaking good. So he looked great. Montgomery did his thing last week, but he's just a grinder and he needs to break one. He's not getting any passing game work. 14 carries against the Rams, only 31 yards, 1 catch. Tariq Cohen doing all the work. Now, I think somebody like Montgomery normally projects well against a team like the Giants. But the issue is, again, Tariq Cohen's over there, and he's just more electric of a player. He's a better player overall. And so on the flip side, do I want to play Barkley? The Bears haven't been that great against the run to where you have to watch out for it or anything. But I'm not a big play players at Chicago guy. That's not my thing. So I could see some checkdowns. I could see some receptions. I could see the interest. He's cheaper than he's been in a long time. Is Saquon Barkley, but it doesn't mean I'm dying to play him. And he's not cheap enough at $7,900. I mean, he's cheaper than he's been, but it's not cheap enough for me right now to get excited about it. As a matter of fact, I skipped right over him when I was breaking down the slate, and putting my sheet together. I was like, Barkley, and he's not even on my list. He didn't even make the list. Now, for the rest of this game, Giants pass catchers, not super interested. They just have such a low team total. I mean, 17 points. 17 points. I'm getting an epileptic seizure watching your camera work, Alan. I got to tell you something. I'm my brain is going to explode. Now your mic is off. It's just crazy over there. I can't hear a word you're saying. Golden Tate, no. Darius Slayton at 5,300. No, I'm not paying that. Shepard, no. The guy who's interesting is Taylor Gabriel on the flip side. Can I trust Allen Robinson when Taylor Gabriel got 14 targets last week and Allen Robinson got nothing? No. So there's a lot of issues here with this game for me from a fantasy, just like a lot of games this week. All of the games look like this. So it's really, really kind of crazy.
Yeah, sorry for those watching visually. I'm having my own webcam issues, but yeah, we're making it happen. As long as you can hear me clearly, I guess that's what counts, right?
Until Geek has an actual seizure on air.
Yeah. If you're a tech guy and want to be hired by DFS Army, flood Geek's email box because we're all learning on the fly here.
Hit up says in the DMs on Twitter.
Well, you know what it is. We're content people. We're becoming tech people as we go. Hey, John. So I got a question for you. This Miami at Cleveland game with the key pieces for Cleveland being out is, Miami's been fun to watch. Is this again one of those situations where it's just too many points, or is Cleveland ready to break out here at laying 10.5?
I mean, to me, this is a lot of points for a team that's, I think they're a mediocre team. This is a lot of points to lay. We've seen Miami as certainly better than we thought they were, or at least a lot of people thought they were. We suddenly went from the team that was going to be punting away the season, trying to go 0-16, to now they've been fairly competitive in quite a few games, and slowly but and sort of under the covers, Cincinnati's the team that looks like they're looking to punt the season away. So, we talked about that. I don't always buy into the whole dumping thing where the front office might be, but once those guys get out on the field, 52 of them are playing for their contracts for the next season or playing for their life, and the coaches are as well. So I never buy into teams just tanking as at least once Sunday rolls around. But as far as gambling standpoint here, the money's actually coming in on Miami because they've looked so good with the points. I mean, they're certainly they're not going to be favored in any games that they play here, but that's just a lot of points, double-digit points with a team in Cleveland who really hasn't looked all that great. Doesn't look like they have the ability to blow anybody out. So the market's kind of on that side, 60-some-odd%, agreeing that that's just too many points. And it was 11. It's down to 10.5 now, and I think it opened at 9, shot up to 11, came back down to 2.5. But we look at the total, that's dropped slightly, and the over is really where the money's coming in. So with Miami scoring a few more points than we've seen in the past, not the greatest defense. Maybe this is a week Cleveland can get some offense going. 83% of the money coming in on the over the 44 or 44.5, depending on where you're at.
Geek, I like Ryan Fitzpatrick this week over many of the quarterbacks that I see on that list. I mean, I know you're going to be in Miami. Is the Miami QB so like a good luck omen?
I might be seeing Fitzpatrick in concert in Miami. I'm not 100% sure. It's like Fitzy and the Smiths or something. I'm not sure if it's Ryan Fitzpatrick that's Fitzy and the Smiths for the Saturday night DraftKings concert. I got to look it up. I don't know if he's in a band or what the hell, but there's a band called Fitzy and the something or another. I got to look it up. But
sounds horrible.
The music I did hear the music. It's pretty good.
I'd put it on this podcast, but you know what happens when
they'll kick us off right off of YouTube. Listen, I like Fitzpatrick. Okay, the murderer in the Cleveland defense is gone.
The assaulter.
The aggravated assault felony charges have been filed.
The batterer.
But in all fairness, that he is the team's best player, right? Yeah. So I mean, anytime you have your best player gone, that's got to be a problem.
Well, I mean, in fairness, Miami lost one of their best players in that running back who beat up his pregnant girlfriend this week. So there's a lot of assault and battery happening between these two teams, but that is irrelevant to this breakdown, right? So the Cleveland defense damaged. Let's put it that way. Their best player gone. 10-point spread. This 44-point game total is shockingly one of the better ones on the entire slate of games. And the game total for Cleveland is one of the highest actual team totals, coming in at 27.25. That was quick math in my brain. 27 and John's nodding. That means I got it right. Nice. About 27.25. So that's a high team total for Cleveland. Both sides of this game are interesting for me. So let's break it down a little bit further. Now, Says, I want to talk to you about a man that you told me about last week, or was it this? I don't know, It
was actually 3 weeks ago before he even got into a game.
Okay, so you talk about Patrick Laird, the kind of sixth string running back for Miami. Leave it to Says to know the sixth string running back and some detail. Tell me about this kid. 6 targets, 6 receptions last week, one rushing attempt. We also Kylan Balaj literally get 10 carries for 11 yards.
Hey, John, I was going to tell John, I was looking at something on Twitter today that showed running backs with at least 60 carries in the NFL since the merger. You're talking about, so what year was the merger, the Super Bowl merger?
71, something like that.
Guess where Kalen Balaj ranks in efficiency among all running backs from that time frame?
With at least
it's
the worst.
Yeah, he's averaging 1.9 yards per carry.
There's never been a worse NFL player than Caleb Balaj. And to see all the touts who talked about Balaj last week taking the victory lap when he scored the touchdown, I wanted to vomit. The guy got 11 total yards. You got bailed out by a fucking lucky touchdown.
Well, here you go. You asked about Laird. So this is the kind of guy that we could be talking about as an all-in fab play next week. So he's still available on so many waiver wires, and he's a pass catcher, and that's exactly what you want in fantasy. Those cheap points. Now, listen, if Kalen Ballage is going to be the goal line back, that's fine. We don't even care because that's not what we're expecting for Laird at his salary and for his price on waiver wires. Just put him in there. I think 4 catches is the floor. You could see a situation where the guy gets 8 catches for 60 yards, maybe some rushing yards. Normally, we don't listen to coach speak, but when the coaches say that this is the guy that's been tearing up practice, and he actually was pretty good in the preseason, that's when I start to listen. When they actually single out specific players. It's like when Aaron Rodgers starts talking about receivers. When the coaches say, hey, this is a guy that we're really excited about, that was the only thing. I read a blurb that Flores was talking about and the running back coaches were looking at, and they were excited about him. I didn't know much about him at all. I can't claim that I was I turned over a rock and found him. I just read what Brian Flores said about him. And so far, so good.
Let me throw this over to John. If I could promise you 6 receptions and about 50 yards for 3,400 on DraftKings this week out of the running back position for this guy, do you sign up for that in most contests? Like what if that's the sort of expectation, are you signing up for that? It's about 12 fantasy points.
Yeah, I think I might. I mean, it's am I signing up for it in what type of game? That's the question.
In your cash game lineup, I mean, whatever.
Oh, in a cash game? Yeah, I think why not at that price? Because that's going to be able to fill in a lot more. You're going to be able to do some damage with some higher salary guys.
You have to make sacrifices this week. Everybody's expensive. So without
I think that's the floor with him. I could see a situation, and again, it's not like what's likely to be possible, it's what is plausible. And I could see a situation where we're talking about him as the all-in, push your fab dollars in play next week, and he just takes total control of that backfield in a Miami team that we all agreed is exciting to watch.
He should, if they're good coaches. But, Kenyon Drake was there and they didn't do that. So, at some point, you have to expect that these guys just won't do smart things. I don't know. Or they won't do things that make sense. All right, let's talk about the rest of this game. There's a lot going on. Nick Chubb, Kareem Hunt, splitting touches. Both of them individually in seemingly a spectacular spot. But can I trust Nick Chubb in his crazy high salary, knowing that Kareem Hunt is there to try to take some of these carries away? I don't know. All I know is even with Kareem Hunt there, Nick Chubb got 27 carries against Pittsburgh last week. And this is Miami. So you would think he should get the same 27 against Miami, but do more with them. So can he score a touchdown? Probably. Can he cross 100 yards? Possibly. 20 points? Not bad for the salary level. With the Cream, man, he's a little spendy for what he's bringing to the table in terms of his touch expectation, but he's out there getting the passes, getting the passing game work. Everybody loves Kareem Hunt. We're giving him a second chance. We don't want to kick him when he's down.
Very good. Very good. That was brilliant.
Thank you. I don't want to kick him in. All right. I won't say it again. So, I don't know.
You said it once. You got the laugh.
I got it in. All right. So, what was I talking about? I get so proud of myself with those. I forgot what I'm saying.
Well, part of good comic delivery is delivering it, let the audience laugh, and then move on. You don't even think of it as a thing.
There we go. I got to remind everybody that I'm witty. So Kareem Hunt, I don't know. I'm not playing this guy for 5,500. What are you, nuts? But I also don't like that he brings the split carry situation to the table and sucks away from the volume of Chubb in this spot. So a little concerning there, and especially against a Miami team where you could throw against them too. And Baker Mayfield might want to go out there and style a little bit, hey, it's Miami. I've looked like shit all year. Let me get in here and toss a couple passes to Odell Beckham Jr., which brings us over to the pass catcher situation. We've got a revenge narrative with Jarvis Landry. I'm not into revenge narratives. I don't believe in it unless you're Steve Smith Sr.
Well, you know what? I think there is something to it. Not a lot, but hey, you're going to try even a little extra harder if it's some team that used to play for or some coach that you want to, there is that thing.
I feel like Juice Landry is he's like a Steve Smith Sr. He's the kind of player that would demand it. He's you saw him on Hard Knocks. This guy is a very boisterous fellow. So, and very leader oriented. He's got a lot of personality traits I think that are really positive. So maybe that does come into play for a guy like him. I think for most players, no, but he is a very boisterous fellow. The other one is Devontae Parker. The guy is the primary target now. He's in a reasonable matchup. He's got consecutive 10-target games. What do we look for on DFS more than anything else? Volume. My goal when I'm constructing my lineup is to try to lock in 10 targets for every pass catcher that I put in my lineup. Even going down, if I can get it, if I pay super cheap, I want to try to get like a 7 or 8 target guy. If I'm paying a little more, I'm trying to get to 10 or more targets. Well, this guy's gotten me 10 targets per week the last 2 weeks. The matchup is fine. Nothing wrong with it. Cleveland's okay, not spectacular. Hey, did they lose any cornerbacks in the suspensions? I don't think so, but again, the defense is a little depleted. So it makes that interesting. As far as anybody else goes in this game, I'm just looking it over. I mean, I'm not an Allen Hurns guy, but I mean, he's signed long term. He got 6 targets last week. He's cheap as anything. You've got the tight end Mike Gesicki. I can't really get down with that. So it's really just about trying to figure out this running back situation and the wide receivers for both teams. No one here jumps off the table to me. Outside of Parker is potentially a cash play with his 10 targets for his salary. Other than that, I'm not really seeing anything jumping off the table as a must play in this game across the board. But I don't mind your play of Fitzpatrick. And the big reason that I don't mind is the same reason I didn't mind a lot of cheap quarterbacks. I like quarterbacks who don't have running backs who are going to steal the touchdowns. So I figure that with Fitzpatrick, if Miami can score 2 touchdowns, it's probably not going to happen with Balayage, right? It's going to be
Kalen Garbage, as we call him here.
Kalen Garbage. It's not going to be that guy. I mean, it could be, but it's probably not. I mean, he'd have to take one of the 11 yards he gets on 14 carries and have that be on the goal line into the touchdown. You know what I'm saying? Like, his touchdown is only a goal line smash. That's it. It could happen, but that could happen with Kyle Juszczyk or some tight end or some, fullback. So who the hell wants that? Laird is an interesting piece. And I think in a week like this, I'm going to keep him on my list. I'm writing it down. Laird. Okay. 6 catches last week. Laird. And the guy in front of him is terrible. So what was that little
lispy accent?
Yeah, I do a thing. I was when that's my head voice. Like, it's gotta write down Laird. Okay. That's my in my head voice.
All right, we got it.
Yeah,
Definitely.
That's all.
All right. I think you covered it. John, I'm curious to what your model said on this one, because I thought this one was going to be closer to a pick'em, but I guess that the public now actually thinks Oakland's a good team. They're probably right. But it just the public perception and what I thought this game would be. When I try to guess the lines, I write them down before we do this. I was way off on this one. I had this one at a pick'em.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good line. It's a fair line there. Oakland 3, could have even been 3.5. I think there, but yeah, I think that's a pretty fair line. Oakland, you have to put these. If you put these teams on neutral field, what do you think that line is on a neutral field?
Probably 3 the other way, like you said.
Yeah, so that's basically why they're favored here on the road. So, yeah, so they're actually probably going to be a little bit better than that. But yeah, so Oakland's the better team. There's no doubt about that. I think 3 is a fair line here. And actually, I'm going to bring up what we're looking at in the betting markets on this game. You've got the Jets, oddly enough, are taking the majority of money. And this game is being bet fairly heavily, and the money's coming in on the Jet side of this. Why
do you feel like is there such value in this game that it's being bet heavily like that?
I don't know. Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at the number of bets, and it's fairly. It's not the heaviest game bet on the day, but actually, I think it's the heaviest Sunday game. If I'm just kind of scrolling through, outside of the Philly Seattle game, which is being bet quite a bit. But yeah, this is one of the high bet. I don't know why. So that's a very interesting. It's interesting to take note that what I think. This looks like sharp money, and I'm kind of analyzing it as we go here. I didn't notice this before, but it looks like there's some sharp money coming in on the Jets. And because the tickets are actually coming in on Oakland, which makes sense. I kind of thought the public would like Oakland here. So something to take note of here. The Jets side is definitely a live side of this game. So don't be shocked here if the Jets win. Wouldn't be obviously a huge upset, but don't be surprised in that game where Oakland is maybe getting a little bit more love here than they deserve. They played Cincinnati last week, and certainly for Survivor, I needed that. I'm in a big Survivor pool. I needed Cincinnati to win that game. Would have got me just a little bit closer, but unfortunately they couldn't pull it off. But if we look at the total, I've got 46.5, and I've got about 61% of the money coming in on the underside of this game, and also that's flipped with the actual way that the tickets are coming in. So we're getting more tickets to the over, yet more money coming in on the under. So the sharp side of this game could be Jets under.
Oh, interesting. I didn't, that is an interesting take on that one. I didn't even think of that. That's why, see, again, this is why I love talking to you guys in front of the people here. Geek, Derek Carr, who you hate in the beginning of the season, are you starting to come around and realize that he's a perfectly good fan? I mean, if you want 270 yards and 2 touchdowns, that's the guy you go to, right?
I never want that. But yes, I mean, has he been acceptable this year? Absolutely. Has he been good? No. This is the kind of, 16, 18, 14, 12, 17. Then he has a 20 and we all get excited. He's not a good fantasy quarterback this season, but he's an acceptable NFL quarterback right now for this team that's playing very well, playing well above expectations. So, but I'll never be a fan. I don't like his leadership skills. Just there's something about him that irks me a little bit.
Yeah, you're going based on the Hard Knocks.
I just didn't enjoy his personality, and I thought that I just didn't like it. So, this is one of those games where the entire screen is lit up in green. You're looking at the matchups, the wide receiver matchups for both teams are spectacular. Neither team plays good pass defense at all. So you have the whole screen lit up in green, and it's like, all right, okay, that tells you we should be looking at these two quarterbacks. Both Sam Darnold and David Carr are in play. I took a pause. Both Darnold and Carr are in play, right, in this game, and all of the pass catchers are at least somewhat interesting. Now, with Darnold, at some point we have to accept that Jamison Crowder is, his top guy. I think the price is getting a little inflated on him at 6,200 on DraftKings. A little spendy. It's a little pay up there for me. For a guy like Crowder, he's not a 12 targeted game guy or even a 10. He's more of a 6 to 8 targets guy. He's been getting kind of lucky with some touchdowns this past week. He's not crossing 100 yards most weeks. So there's a little danger in paying all the way up for Crowder this week. Tyrell the Gazelle, good player, very low volume. Can't deal with that. Even as much as the matchup is great, he's too jacked up in price. Again, I'm mentioning all of this because everybody seems to be in a great spot, but there are negatives across the board here. Robbie Anderson, 3-4 targets a game, just not being utilized a lot. Can't trust that at all for the Jets. Back to Renfro and Zay Jones. Neither one of these guys is super. I think Renfro might be the best of them. He's in a good spot, and he does get a little more volume, but he's still a 5 to 7 target guy. He's just cheaper. I expect all of these guys to play to the high end of the range. The Jets are like a mini Bucks. They stop the run. They can't stop the pass. So the sharp play is to throw a lot in these games, but it could be Waller. And I do think one of these guys will emerge for the Raiders, maybe even 2, but Renfro, whatever. I don't know. Zay Jones might finally have a good game. I think that's the least likely possibility. And
I stopped thinking about Zay Jones once he took his pants off from that whole incident 2 years ago. I mean, or maybe you should, think about him more. Do you remember that whole thing, John, from a couple years ago?
I don't know this.
In the offseason, go ahead. Tell Geek about how he caught with his pants off.
I don't know the story.
Yeah, so basically, after his rookie season, he had an off the field incident where the cops, found him and he was naked running out of a hotel room and breaking a window, and he had his pants off, just running around.
No, I think he was totally, and there was video of that also.
Yeah,
you can find video of that.
So there has to be more to that story than what was the rest of the story? What happened with the hooker who was in the hotel room? Was she dead?
John, you still there?
Yeah, I'm here. Yeah. No,
Geek froze up for a second. Yeah, it was Go ahead.
I said, what happened with the prostitute that was in the hotel room? Was she dead?
These views do not reflect the Geeks Vegas lines. These are fully.
The only thing I could say is,
or the sponsors. They don't.
I'm glad they didn't. I'm glad they didn't have cell phone with video cameras back when I was in college. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, we say this every day. Middle school, high school. Oh my God! I mean,
all I have to say is remember Joey Bag of Donuts.
Well, there is a video, by the way, and I'm hoping it's been deleted since. It's been 20. It's been a lot of years, 26 years or so, 27 years. All I'm going to say is, I'm hoping Sheldon Gonchar has deleted this video.
You're saying the name.
I'm saying his name out there.
I'm hoping that Season Long Says has deleted the videos that he took of me in college.
Well, that is not. I did not delete those, John. I was the guy with the video, with the camcorder in college, so I have like everything on tape, like literally everything.
It was a rough night of grain alcohol. That's all I'm going to say.
Oh yes, the grain alcohol was rough for us too. We ended up in on Halloween we were a Batman and Robin, and ended up in a gay club. Not that there's anything wrong with that. Just I just passed out. So that's never. It's always an interesting in a Batman costume.
With your pants unbuttoned or no?
Yeah, I don't even know how we ended up there.
Yeah, I haven't walked the same since.
Did you wake up with your pants unbuttoned? Is the question.
Well, I had a Batman leotard on, as I just told you.
Okay,
his jaw was sore.
My pants unbuttoned.
By the way, I wore my Rocky shirt for you.
Hey,
yes, not beautiful. The ultimate male Thunderlips.
Nice.
Yeah. I think I have a new Halloween Yes, very good. All right, we just went off the rails talking about Zay Jones.
What game are we talking about? How about Ryan Griffin, who propelled my team single-handedly into the final round of the King of the Beach with what an incredible call that was. Core play by DFS Up North, Josh, last week. 5 for 5, 24.9 yards. Jets seem to like to throw to the tight end. And now what does DraftKings go and do? They jack up the salary to a ridiculous $4,200. You can't play him. Like, guys, he's a fucking Jets tight end. Let's not go crazy.
Wait.
We're not talking about...
But he's in his typical fourth-year breakout year. He's actually been good. He's getting all the...
Wait. You just moved the breakout from year 2. You can't move the goalpost. What is the typical fourth-year breakout? Wait.
Well... I'm saying
Jared Cook in the typical 8th-year breakout. Like,
I'm just saying sometimes it happens. He didn't get a lot of playing time in the first couple of years. He's actually getting an opportunity. And Sam Darnold likes him. He's had 20 fantasy points in like 3 of the last 4 weeks, or it's something like that. It's time to say like, hey, he's a nondescript tight end, but. And last week, didn't like some other tight end on the Jets get a touchdown too?
I was like, yeah, Griffin. Wait, who the fuck is Brown?
Right, exactly. It was who the hell is this touchdown?
I know. I'm a Jets fan. I hadn't even heard of that guy. So yeah, that was crazy. I was so excited for like a split second, but then of course Griffin had full redemption. But the Jets do like to throw to the tight end position, and of course Darren Waller. He's there. His grandpa Fats Waller, great jazz musician. It's irrelevant to anything. Why does that matter? I don't know, but it's important to know that.
All right, 3 games, 15 minutes, guys, and these are 3 good ones. So let's move through them. John, take us right through Seattle at Philly. Philly laying the 1.5, total 49.
Okay. The Seattle, like I said, that's the heaviest, or the most heavy, however you want to say it.
The most heaviest.
The most heaviest bet game on the board. Makes sense. It's kind of a marquee matchup. But Seattle's taking the action here. About 2/3 of the money coming on Seattle. A lot more of that in tickets coming on Seattle, like about somewhere around 80%. On the total, we've got 80% of the money coming in on the under, which is interesting. I think that's more a byproduct of the fact that this Philly offense just has not clicked. Russell Wilson, MVP talks. He's moved to second place now behind Lamar Jackson, but that offense has been working with Russell, and we said it time and time again. Wilson kind of plays to the game that he's in. If he needs to be in a shootout, he could do that. And if they're going to just play close to the vest, hand the ball off, and run Wilson every once in a while, they can do that too. So interesting to see where the Geek stands here.
Yeah, Geek, take us through the key players. I mean, I mentioned to you a name that you almost hung up the phone on me earlier when I mentioned Nelson Aguilar.
No Aguilar. No likey. But let's look at this game. Don't like Aguilar. But let's look at this game as a whole. Listen, this one is kind of surprising. I'm surprised by how high the total is. I'm concerned as to how Philly is going to produce enough offense in this game just to get to the 26 or 25 and a half projected points. No Alshon Jeffrey, no Deshaun Jackson. I don't know if Alshon Jeffrey will be back. If Alshon Jeffrey's back, I think I like their prospects a little bit more. Isn't it funny? What a disservice Philadelphia did to Wentz by only having Alshon Jeffrey as your number one. Like, he's like a decent number 2 wide receiver. He's definitely not a number 1. And they have no one else behind him. Aguilar is a fucking joke. So it's going to be interesting to figure out how the Eagles get to this total. And with Seattle, they only score when they need to. They're a team that will comfortably sit back on a lead. They're not going to put their pedal to the metal. They're not going to press the issue if they don't have to. So in order for Seattle to be having a great game, and I already did the write-up on this one in my Geeks pick sheet because, it really was, I can almost read it. I'm going to read it on Russell Wilson. I said, this is a dangerous spot for Wilson. Eagles aren't producing much offense right now with their depleted core of weapons. That leaves Wilson in a dangerous spot because Seattle will lean on the run if they're leading. In other words, if I'm looking for a cash game play, I need a guy who, for all intents and purposes, no matter what's going on, is going to give me some points, right? Is going to produce. When I'm looking at Wilson, I'm like, hey, we know what this team will do. They haven't had a lot of chance to do it this year, but if they can lean on the run, they will. They'll give it to Chris Carson 26 times. They'll let him just boom, pound it up the middle. These Eagles games, they tend to be grindy. They tend to be grimy. They can be low scoring. Eagles are not able to score quickly this season. They don't have deep weapons. Like, it's totally different with Deshaun Jackson out there. And this guy, Mac, is just no Deshaun, Mac Holland or whatever.
Mac Hollins. Yeah. No, listen, coming out, he was a speedster, but he just hasn't panned out in the NFL.
He's just none of that. So, like, they don't have the ability to score fast. And throwing to tight ends doesn't move the football down the field quickly. It's like the slow first down, 15-play drives. If you look at Carson Wentz all season, he hasn't been good. Like, he hasn't even been a 20-point quarterback. I don't even think twice. Like, he maybe had one game where he played well. So there's a lot of red flags on this game for the second highest total on the slate that kind of make me say, shit. I mean, look at Wentz, 13, 15, 9, 14, 9, 24, 12, 19, and in the early games in the season when he had Deshaun Jackson there, who's doing a lot better. But I mean, some of those games they had 250. He's only broken 300 yards twice all season. There's a lot of red flags on the Eagles offense right now in terms of a fantasy scoring offense. And for this Seattle offense, really it just comes down to, they're going to score. They'll score as often as they need to. I don't think the Eagles defense is as bad as advertised. And John, I'm curious to see how the stats model shows, pass defense for Philadelphia, which has been improving significantly recently. They just kind of put the kibosh on the Patriots offense, and, they got their top 2 corners back. And I feel like it's gelled. Like, has there been a change in the models for the Eagles defensively in terms of their pass defense over the last few weeks? Like, have that number been shrinking?
It has a little bit. I mean, this game on the whole is a lukewarm game in a slate of ice cold. So,
there you go.
That's just what it is. So you've got that Tampa Atlanta game that's just fire. And then you've got a lot of really frigid type of games. And this one's kind of lukewarm, which lukewarm on this slate is not too bad. So
why did it have to be on my King of the Beach week?
Yeah, this is a rough one.
I would take the opposite viewpoint, that thank God it's on your King of the Beach week, because I think you're a sharp player, and this puts you at an advantage against the field. Now, I know you're going against all sharp players, but I think they're going to be feeling that anxiety more than you, because you are consistently able to flip it upside down when things go the other way. So I think that actually works to your advantage.
Well, we hope so. But, everybody's dealing with the same set of circumstances. So it's a tough week across the board. Like I said, I looked at this game, the first game I looked at, and I was like, why the fuck is this the second highest total on the slate? This game doesn't stand out to me at all as like something that should be high scoring. Seattle, not as good on the road than at home traditionally. Russell Wilson, a noticeable split. I if you believe in this stuff, there's a noticeable split between road and home and away in terms of fantasy scoring. Seattle likes to lean on the run if they can, just overall, and definitely more so on the road. So there's a lot of sort of things here.
How about Jacob?
Red flag.
Can we go a little Hollister? Is that possible? I mean, he's putting up the same numbers Will Dissly did before he got injured.
Yeah. Hollister's a perfectly fine. Actually, that's a good mention. Not cheap though, 4,300. So you're paying up for Hollister, but he's coming off a 10-target game, 6 targets before that. So he's getting looks in this offense. Hollister is absolutely playable. And if going back to it, if Tyler Lockett is out this week.
No, he's more trending towards playing than he is out.
Playing. I listen, wishful thinking. But if he was out, then I am interested in some of these secondary pieces a lot more, and Hollister a lot more. I just want to go down the list. Josh Gordon, no, not going there. And Aguilar, Josh Gordon is basically Nelson Aguilar for me in this game. I'm not touching it. And Jordan Matthews, if Alshon Jeffrey's out, it's going to be Jordan Matthews and Nelson Aguilar. Oh, man, it's very tough. It's very tough. I might have to play Aguilar. I'm not going to say completely no, but I don't want to.
Oh, really? I thought you were just trolling me just now.
If Alshon Jeffrey is out and all of these players are out, you have to actually give it consideration to Alshon. Last week, no, because it was the Patriots, and I hate him as a player. He drops passes. But, I mean, you can't ignore the 9 targets he just got and the 8 targets the week before. With Alshon out, he gets a lot of – he doesn't do anything, but he gets a lot of targets. I think this is a much softer matchup. So, this is one of those spots where maybe he could do something with those targets.
I like Aguilar. I like Aguilar a little bit better than the market in general. I think, him being a free agent next year, he'll end up on a team and have a good second half of career. He'll have a useful NFL career. John, the feature game of the week, even though I don't think it's going to be a good game, it's going to be good in from a narrative perspective. Is it still New England laying 6.5 at home against Dallas with a 45.5 total? Is that still the number?
That's still the number that I have. And the money's coming in on the Patriots, not unexpectedly. Although, the Patriot offense,
it got juiced a little now. I'm looking.
You have juice? Okay. Yeah. Just the one thing I'm looking at. Yeah. 115 with the -6.5.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So that's, that's always going to depend on where they've taken the money. Have they taken it at the 7 or 6.5? Those are key numbers, going to a 7 on the 7, off the 7. And we don't have to get into all that now, but the books don't like to get middled, so they'll move the juice and not move the line. That's why you'll see -120s, -115s around those key numbers. But anyway, the money is coming in 63% of it on New England. If we click over to the total in this game, 45, it is coming in on the over. Not tremendous amount of money, 57% of it coming in. On the over. This again, it'll be one of the heavier bet games. Going to be the prime game at 425. So it'll get bet pretty significantly. But when playing Dallas or playing against New England has just not been from a fantasy standpoint has not been very good. So this is going to be an interesting one here when Dallas has been great for at least in the passing game with Dak, and now we got to come into a situation where maybe we don't want to use any of these guys.
Yeah, Geek. I mean, I was just saying, John, that Jason Garrett versus Bill Belichick, guess who I'm taking every single time? I mean, you got to
love Garrett in that situation, I would think, right?
Not love Garrett.
No, I was kidding. Yeah,
okay,
no.
All right.
I'm a Cowboys fan, so this is it's just brutal. It's brutal watching we call him the cheerleader on the sideline. He's great at the clapper. Yeah, so.
Yeah, it's just that, for a guy who went to Princeton, he does really make some poor in-game decisions. Thank God he's handed the play calling over to Kellen Moore. Geek, John mentioned this, so I want you to expound on this a little bit. You can't really play anybody with ultimate confidence on the New England side. So are you going to pick anyone in this game at all, even on the Dallas side? Cooper's a little banged up.
It's a brutal. I'm not playing pass catchers against New England. Let's start there. Dak has been spectacular this year. We know this. Cooper, Michael Gallup, Randall Cobb, great the last few weeks. I know all of it. This is the Patriots defense, and it's not a defense to be trifled with at home. It's not. Dak might be good enough to beat them, but I don't want to take the chance. So my hope is that I can find other players that are similar that have a better chance in a better matchup of doing well. So, the best matchup in this game is actually the Patriots running game against this at home as a favored spot against this Dallas defense that's not great against the run. But once again, Sony Michel, James White, maybe. Kind of don't hate James White. If I was open to and accepting of sort of punting one of my running back spots, being happy with the 10 fantasy points that we'll probably get from James White, okay. But I don't love any of these guys with all three of them in play. White, Michel, and Burkhead out there getting touches, 5 carries last week, 3 targets. I mean, no one gets enough volume here to pay off. Michel could get lucky and smash in a couple of goal line crunches, but when that happens, it's going to be 12 fantasy points plus the other 20 that he got, or 30 that he got just, on his 10 carries and 30 yards. It's not enough floor. On the flip side, can I really trust a Zeke Elliott at 7,500? Priced down, but he's priced down a lot, which I like. But it's at home for New England. Dallas is going to be trailing. I think Zeke Elliott is a very good tournament play, but only because I think all of the running backs have a lot of question marks this week, and Elliott is way cheaper than he normally is. He has not been good. So let's not go crazy. Even last week in the ultimate cherry matchup in a dome against the worst run defense in the entire league, he still only got a couple of targets, just 2. They're bringing out Pollard. Pollard is absolutely a part of this game plan now. If you look, Pollard got a touchdown last week. He got 4 receptions, 4 targets, couple carries, 17. Pollard almost outscored Zeke last week.
Hey, John, as a Cowboys fan, they paid the wrong guy. They should have just kept Tony Pollard as the running back.
I'm part of the running backs do matter, but I'm part of the you can't pay up for these guys. And when you see Pollard run, you're like, why the hell would you? Even if he's not quite as good as Zeke, why would you pay that money when you got to pay Dak and that's coming down the pike? So
I think, by the way, it's important to note by every metric, Zeke is almost Kalen Ballage bad this year. So breaking tackles, run elusiveness, like by every measure of the running back position, Zeke has been one of the worst running backs just by a pure talent standpoint. I don't know why, but by a pure performance standpoint this year, I'm going to get so much hate mail for this.
He just hasn't looked like himself. You're not saying anything. Himself. Yeah, I don't think that you're saying anything that's controversial in a sense, or that you could have backlash. It's
but Cowboys fans are crazy. They'll like them.
Well, you're talking to one. You're talking to John.
John will fucking come.
I'm not all there.
Lop my head off. I'm lucky he's in where he is, and I'm far away.
Exactly.
But no, I mean, if John's a DFS player first, man, we don't have that much fandom, and we do the best to be fans after so many years. But it's like covering a team as a beat reporter. At some point, you're not a fan of the team anymore. It's your job. But I will say, I don't want to pay up for him. I don't like anything in this game. So fuck this game.
All right. Well, I always save the best for last, and I save the best because I'm in my hometown of Jacksonville, Florida. Jacksonville Jaguars, John, they're out of it, but this is going to be interesting as they go to Tennessee. Who's going to lay just the home field advantage with 3 points, total 41.5. Give us the betting angles breakdown, but also tell me, I'm just curious on your opinion of how they're going to handle the quarterback situation. Is this like more or less a tryout for Nick Foles for the rest of the year? I mean, to see if they can keep him or what they're going to do with Minshew, because if you have 2 quarterbacks, they have some value on there. We'll first talk about the betting angles breakdown, then I have a couple questions.
Yeah, the betting's pretty 50-50, and this is a game like, only sharps are going to bet. Like, I don't think the public's not coming in. This is going to be just Jacksonville and Tennessee aren't very popular teams to watch. This obviously won't be a game on except in local local area, your market. They don't black those games out for not selling out anymore, do they?
No. But believe it or not, that this game's in Tennessee, but if this game was in Jacksonville, the stadium sells out. People do support the team; they like it here. It's a big part of the football culture.
I've been to that stadium. I actually went to a Monday night game against the Giants a few years ago, but quite a few years ago. But but the game's 50-50 as far as the betting goes on that. And again, it's very light action. As far as the total, there is significant amount of money coming in, quite a bit actually, on the overside of this game. And I can totally see that. 42 seems a little light. So there's possibility of some points being scored in this game. As far as the quarterback situation, like you said, I do think it's a tryout. I mean, you've got a guy who's serviceable. You brought in Foles thinking, he's the guy. I think I'll tell you this. I think Foles right now would help Philadelphia the way watching the way watching. And I was a proponent of trading Wentz. It might be a crazy move. When they won the Super Bowl, I said you could get a boatload for Wentz right now, and you already proved you could win with Foles. Why not trade him? You don't have to pay him as much. Whole topic for another day, but it's proven out that Wentz hasn't been very good.
Yeah, I mean, I was talking to a couple of Jaguar fans, Geek, and I asked, would you trade away Minshew for, a first and a second round pick? Like if somebody offered you that, would you take it? And they, these aren't analytics people, they're just fans. And they said, no, we like having him for the future and all that stuff. They didn't fully understand, but I think, you're going to have Foles. He's been, keeping the offense afloat here, but is he someone that you're playing in DFS? And I'm just curious of your take on it also, what you would do from a real football perspective with the two quarterbacks in Jacksonville.
Yeah, I think you have to make a decision. And if somebody's offering you a first and second for Minshew, you take that deal because Foles is your guy. You paid him. And Foles is good. He's not a bad quarterback, a little brittle.
Yeah, they have him for one more year guaranteed.
Yeah, he's a little brittle, but he's a perfectly acceptable quarterback. He played well last week as much as, in the end of the day, he's coming off an injury. He threw for almost 300 yards, 2 touchdowns. DJ Chark looked amazing.
He's a star.
There, so, yeah,
he's a star.
Nick
another
Foles
guy we talked about early on that people were, didn't see coming.
DJ Chark, Cortland Sutton. These are names to write down on your little book for next year.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Too.
And Tebow, that's my punk.
That's your boy.
Yeah, that's my punk. Nick Foles looked good last week, right? Now it's a good matchup against this Titans team that it scores more now that Tannehill's at the helm and the offense moves better and actually the games flow a little bit better. So more scoring from both sides potentially here. Running game, both sides of this game. This game really actually project. It's funny because it's 41 point total. I wish this was like a 44 or 46 where I could get like a little bit more excited about the total number of scoring. I like, John, that you're telling me that all the money's coming in on the over here. I mean, it's a very low total, so it's not shocking me. But yeah, this is a game where you want to play these people.
Yeah, I think of all these really low total games, this is the one that has the most intrigue.
Yeah, I think so too. Like, we'll start with Henry. Derrick Henry, when he's doing his thing, he's unstoppable. He's a 2-touchdown kind of scorer. He's a 180 plus or a 100-yard bonus type of running back. And when he does that and he gets you the touchdown, he's at 20 points. That's what you need from these guys. He needs a touchdown because he doesn't catch many passes. They throw him a little bit now, but it's not enough. Two targets a game. It's just not enough to get what we need out of him. So I think if the game remains close, if the Titans, if the spread holds true and the Titans remain sort of this favored team, this team that maintains a 3-point lead throughout the game kind of thing, I think they'll lean very heavily on Derrick Henry. He's always a scary play on DraftKings with a very, very low floor. But I mean, how much lower is his floor even than a Le'Veon Bell who's only catching 4 passes a game for the same price? So like, it's not that different. On the flip side, you have Leonard Fournette, been a very consistent scorer for most of the year, had a couple bad games, Houston blowout, Colts last week. Colts just sometimes produce these low-scoring crapola games. Colts are good defense. What can you do? But that was a disappointing game. He still got 7 receptions in it. So while he has not displayed the kind of ceiling that I want when I'm paying all the way up to 7,200, 7,300 on DraftKings, or the scoring prowess, the touchdown prowess that I like on FanDuel. I don't play him on FanDuel. I haven't played him on FanDuel all year. The guy doesn't get in the end zone. Will he eventually get in the end zone? I think so. But as Alan, you mentioned earlier, rushing touchdown all season for this inexplicable, but that's what it is. Fournette does not break away. He's not had a lot of big running yardage games. He's getting most of his work just through these passings. He had 100-yard. Actually, he had a 225-yard game, so let's not go crazy. But even then, he couldn't score a touchdown. So that was weird. But both sides of the running game are interesting. At wide receiver, DJ Chark, sure. AJ Brown, maybe. Brown, a little scary, getting you zeros sometimes.
Yeah, I don't think you could use him next year and the year after. I mean, he's just going to be a monster for years. But I don't know about this year.
the big guy, I played this guy on my King of the Beach last week. It was D.D. Westbrook. I have to say I was very disappointed in the results. All the passes went to Shark. D.D. got 6 targets. I think I'm going to go back to him this week. I'm not saying he's definitely in my tournament lineup, but D.D., I'm going to go back to him a little bit. I have a hard time thinking that Shark is going to get another 18 or 15 targets like what he got last week. So he hogged up all of the targets for his team, and hey, shit happened. But I mean, Shark is also very interesting, playable if he's fully healthy at 6,400. The guy is the focal point of the offense, or at least he was this past week. And no interesting tight ends to really speak of here.
All right, guys. Well, we did it again. The Geeks Vegas line week 12. If you want to hear this at any point on the audio cast, or if you missed any of it, you can download it in the DFS Army podcast player. Download it, listen to it on your way to work while you're doing your job. Ignore your job completely and just listen to this. Listen to it repeated again and again. Geek, quickly tell us how
many times do you think my kick a man when his down line will be funny, and then it would just go to annoying?
Well, I don't think it will be annoying. I think it will lose all our sponsors, and at the same time, it will maybe we'll gain another. I mean, when one door closes, another opens. I thought it was a brilliant line. Well,
I will never hold my tongue.
No one has ever accused us of as being fully tasteful. So it goes with the brand of the Geeks Vegas Vegas lines.
You're saying the fact that when it's a football show and the NSFW warning sign starts flashing as soon as you start to play it, like, don't, not safe for work. Don't play this out loud. Put it in your headphones.
Yeah, I just want to remind everybody, though. Yes, exactly. We need to have a warning label. Just remind everyone, though, to ring the bell watching on YouTube to get alerts when we go live. We have a ton of podcasts and media, too many to name right now: basketball, football, bookie podcasts. And if you're not a member of DFS Army yet, make sure you go and get a VIP membership. Use code GEEK. Use code StatSational. Sign up, get 20% off for life. And, you get the pitch from us every week. You get full access to the coaches. You get all of our coaches and experts giving you the best advice and not telling you what to do, teaching you how to do it.
Let me say something. I want to add something to this. First of all, if you want to know what a beast John Alessia is, even as we're sitting here recording this breakdown, I just got a notice.
Statsational, by the way.
Statsational John Alessia. Right here. I just got a notice on my screen of picks coming in to the DFS Army Beat the Bookie Slack group from John himself. He's here breaking the shit down and tossing picks out for the people.
I had to get it out. Me? Yeah, I got 8 minutes to go, and I want to make sure I've been monitoring in this game while we were going, and I wanted to get that out. Yeah,
that's what the Beat the Bookie service is. All right. And you're going to learn how to. You're going to learn. Let me do my thing. Let me do my thing.
I want you to make a distinction that DFS Army VIP membership is different from our sister website, Beat the Bookie.
Absolutely. DFS Army VIP is daily fantasy sports. You'll get our optimizer. You'll get all of our pros notes, top ranked pros in the industry, not like other sites where they're full of shit. These are actual top ranked pros who put out a cheat sheet like I do, like Keg does. All of our guys are specific to their own sports. They put out a cheat sheet. They give you core plays. They break the whole slate down for you. We have the optimizer. It's the best optimizer in the industry. It's the most customizable. It's the most correlated optimizer in the industry. Why? Because we built it as players, not as some corporate bullshit or some programmer nerd from that doesn't play DFS. We play it. We love it. So as I need something, as somebody else needs something, let's program that in. Let's get, I want this kind of stack. Our NFL stacking system is unmatched in the industry. I dare you to find me a better one, a more controllable one. It doesn't exist. There's a reason why our guys are finishing at the top of Millie Makers most weeks. Burns has 2 top 10 finishes. We got a Millionaire Maker winner this season. We had people winning the slant and other similar contests with similar scores. So there's a lot to it. Beat the Bookie will help you become a great sports gambler. DFS Army will help you become a great daily fantasy sports player. Sign up. Code is what's our code for this pod? BTB. We're doing BTB. We got a BTB code.
BTB is Beat the Bookie.
Beat the Bookie. BTB gets you 20% off a VIP membership or 20% off a Beat the Bookie monthly subscription. You should check it out. We have a free offer as well on the DFSArmy.com homepage. You click on free offer, and there's a way to get free a month of DFS Army and Beat the Bookie. So click on that. And in the meantime, for myself, for Season Long Says, for John Alicia.
John Alicia.
It is Alicia.
It's Alicia?
Yes.
I've been saying it wrong the whole time.
Yeah, everyone his whole life has been saying, John, I'm going to be your spokesman here. Okay?
I've got half, part of the family says Alicia, and
his own family says Alicia.
So you're okay with it, but I like Alicia. So.
In Brooklyn, we say Alicia. Hey, Johnny Bag of Donuts. Joey Bag of Donuts. Alan knows the story.
Too soon.
Too soon for Joey Bag of Donuts?
Too soon.
But that involved somebody running around naked as well. I'm not going to get too deep into it. But yeah, for all of us, Geeks Vegas Lines, Week 12, let's do this. I will be back. Actually, I won't be back. For DFS Army subscribers, we have a special Wolf Pack as I will be in Miami. Party in the city in the break of dawn and the hurt and the blight in the break of dawn. So I'm going to be over there. So we got a new crew. John will be joining Josh DFS up north, Burns, the Million Maker specialist, to do a special Wolfpack DFS Army crew. And I will be back on Saturday, as always, with my laptop, trying to figure out how to do the Players Club without all of my equipment. We'll see how that goes. And let's crush it. Week 12, baby.
All right, guys. Talk again real soon. Take care. Thanks for watching.
Good luck.